What's going on? What's the word? It's about to awakening, heard all over the world. What's going on?
Kimbo, Nadatan Zambi Yamazulu. I want to say welcome to the community here on the Zoom. I want to say welcome to Facebook and to YouTube. We're always honored and overjoyed to have you with us. On today, our topic is the wounds we carry. The wounds we carry. And this is a open discussion. You know, I enjoy having open discussion and dialogue with the community because that's how we learn. Iron sharpens iron. And what I want to talk about is for 400 years, we have been indoctrinated with a mentality that is not ours, a culture that is not ours. Before our ancestors were taken off of the continent, they had their culture, they had their spirituality, they had their way of life. And that was taken away from us when we were brought over. So if you would allow me, let me go to the very beginning. When the first individual was created, they were created in the land on the continent of Africa. And during that time, we know that our ancestors, our Nkulus, began to multiply on the continent of Africa. And from there, they began to move out into the different areas, even other continents. We know this. We know that they were not carried into captivity till later, much later, but they begin to go out into other continents and to take up residence. And being in these other continents, of course, they begin to grow and flourish. Why am I mentioning that? I mention it because there are those, our brothers and sisters, who deny having any affiliation with Africa and Africans. They deny the family. They deny the roots. And they say the land that they were born in, be it the US or any other continent other than Africa, they say that they are indigenous to that land. They say they're indigenous to the United States. And they refuse to believe and accept that their ancestors originated on the continent of Africa. When the Most High said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, that means we look like him. We literally look like him. So when you look in the mirror, you are looking at the Most High. You are looking at the color of the Most High. So when you look at the brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa, you are looking at your brothers and sisters who look like the Most High. But because of the Europeans, because of the mentality that they have put in us, the wounds that they placed upon us, we're listening to them. We're listening to them where they said Africans sold Africans. They sold you to the captors to bring you into captivity. I want to ask, how can you listen and believe those who have taken you into captivity, those who have enslaved your ancestors? How can you listen to them and take their word for gold? There was a statement that was made, and I believe in giving honor to where the honor and credit is due. It was a statement that was made by Nti Ngon. And she said that when we look at the Bible and it said, trust no man. The Bible tells us to put all of our trust in God, right? It said, trust no man. She broke that down. Man is you and I. Remember, Tata Nzambi said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Man is us. But remember now, the Bible was twisted and things added to it. And it said, trust no man. In other words, what they're telling us is, I can't trust the one who looks like me. I shouldn't believe the one who looks like me. I should not believe what they say to me. But trust God. They have made themselves, or at least they think that they are gods. Look at what they're creating. The AI, trying to live longer, talking about blocking out the sun. Look at their tactics. Look at how the United States is trying to bully all the other countries, especially the continent of Africa. They think they are God. I give them this. They were accurate when the devil said, I will ascend above the clouds and be like the Most High. They have ascended above the clouds, trying to be like the Most High. We all know and seen the movie Roots and how they had Kunta Kinte tied up, and they were beating him, whipping him, had a brother, his own brother, whipping him. And the white man was saying to him, your name is Toby. Say it. The white man was being God. He was playing God. He was stripping Kunta Kinte of who he was. And we see the results of that today. Our own brothers, our own sisters are playing the role of the masters when it comes to our brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa. What was done to us in the diaspora, they're turning around, trying to do it to their own brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa, denying them, saying that they hate them just because they're African, making themselves look better than they, and saying Africa has nothing. I did not come from Africa. It's no different than the white man. No different. We're messed up. We got to understand what was done to us. I did a video some months back entitled Mundeliitis. And what that's saying is we have taken on the ways of the Mundeli, of the Europeans. We have taken on their thought process, their culture, their mentality, their ways. And don't realize that we are putting all of that against, using it against our own brothers, causing separation. Don't you know that's exactly how the Europeans are? They're all about separation. And they're still continuing the separation today amongst us. We were a people who were always united until they came and separated and divided us. Look at how they divided up the land. Look at how they flipped the map of Africa. Look at it. And you want to sit and listen to them and believe what they say? They don't like you. And they've shown you for so many years. When you go to put in for a certain position on a job and they tell you you're not qualified. Or they tell you you got to have 7 years experience. Knowing good and well you don't have that many years of experience. And you are qualified. I have even been told you're overqualified. Really? If I was overqualified, why did I come to apply for the position? But they want to give us janitorial positions. And if they do give you a supervisor manager's position, they are scrutinizing you. And they make sure that you uphold what they want you to do. In other words, be their modern day slave. go over and tell so-and-so who happens to be your brother or sister that they're going to be fired because of so-and-so and so. And you try to speak up on their behalf. They don't want to hear what you got to say. They just want you to do what they said. And not realize that they don't care about you because they will fire you in a heartbeat. So, just on that note, if anyone has anything to share, I would love to hear from you.
You know, Yaya, that just listening to what you were saying, it's really a shame whenever I look at our people, they are trying so hard to assimilate into the Mundelis culture. They actually will have no problem disowning their own culture. I saw a video once where so many of our the women are spending millions on bleaching cream, trying to make their skin lighter, straightening their hair.
Yes.
You know, it's just really sad.
It is.
Trying to fit into the ways of the Mundele. The scripture said the way taken on the ways of the heathen.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right. You know, we have to understand we're a beautiful people. You're beautiful the way you are. You know, I'll never forget when I was in elementary, there was this young lady or little girl, not a young lady, this girl that I liked and I wanted to be her boyfriend. Y'all know how we used to do as kids, you know, will you be my girlfriend? And and a friend of mine, a female who lived down the street, she came and told me, she said that this girl liked me, but she said, if I was a little lighter, she would be my girlfriend. How messed up that is.
Yes, it is.
You see the mentality that they have put on us?
Wow.
She was attracted to me, but I wasn't light enough.
Yeah. I believe that because when I was going to, when I was in elementary school, I used to get teased because I was, because of the color of my skin, how dark I was. And it wasn't the Mundelis because, you know, the school I went to when I was grades 1 through 7, it was an all Black school. So it was one of us, well, it was a couple of them, one of us that teased me because I was, you know, because I was so dark and they were lighter. Every day from grade 1 to 7, I had to go through that, which it made me angry, but it didn't make me want to bleach my skin. You know, I've always been proud of the way I look. I've always been proud of my skin color and I love it. I never wanted to bleach my skin and change my appearance. You get to.
Yes, I see.
And now what we understand, the melanin in your skin is actually enables us to communicate with our righteous and coolers and with Tatanzambi.
Yes. And that is what they want.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do anything to get our melanin, anything.
They will. They will. And, you know, the other thing that hurt as well is our brothers and sisters think that if they marry a Mundele, that they have something precious, you know, like they've arrived, you know, and not
Yeah.
realizing that they have married the enemy. And I'm speaking honestly and truthfully. So don't get upset. Okay. Let me tell you. For some, these Mundelis that you marry may honestly, truly love you. Okay, let me just keep it real. They may truly love you. But the Most High told us, do not mix your seed.
Yes.
We're not supposed to be with them.
No, we're not.
There is a gene that is within them. I don't care how sweet and loving they are. There is that gene that is dormant within them. One day, you'll see it.
Oh, yeah.
It'll come out.
Oh, yes, it will. And not only did were we told not to, we were told not to marry them. And not only is it wrong, but they've also cursed themselves. And they've cursed their lineage by marrying one of them.
Yes.
Yes, they cut their spiritual inheritance off
Yes.
Yes.
when you marry outside. Yes.
Exactly. You know, and you become under their ancestors.
Yeah.
So, and now imagine, you may not know that the person you married, the European you married, you may not know that one of their ancestors was a slave owner.
Mm-hmm. And what does that make you?
That's right. That's right, there.
Yeah. So then you become a slave.
Yes.
You become a slave. That's right.
Yes.
Now I'm also understanding that look at our celebrities and our athletes. Look at who they go run and marry.
Yeah. Thinking
Well,
they're better off.
Yes, and it's
Look,
really
they
a
got
setup.
some.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if something happens to them, guess where the money goes back? The wealth goes back.
Back to the
Back to
Mandela
That's right.
family. Yeah. There are so many beautiful Bantu women out here that they could marry. So many of them. But no, I don't know what's wrong with their mindset, but they go over to the other side and marry them thinking that, you know, things are going to be better for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
My-
Look what happens to you. A lot of them have
There's a
been,
movie out now. It just came out on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a Jewish and Bantu, and it just goes. It's rather disgusting, but I watched it because I wanted to see how it played out, and it ended up that they did get married, and the parents were upset because they were actually Islam, but the Mazunga parents were Jewish. So you can see how they're really trying to play this thing up, really trying to make it seem like it's okay to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. It's just
Yes.
not.
oh, I know what we're talking about. Yeah.
And then in religions, we didn't have religions as Bantu people.
Mm-hmm.
Religion loves to push the scripture. God so loved the whole world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole world. Nope.
Sure don't.
No, he don't.
But I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that until I came into the truth. Because I believe that as
Mhm.
well. I was in church and I believe that, and couldn't nobody tell me no different. But
Mhm.
when you find you study and read and read and read and research, he sure don't love the world.
Right. What
Sure
about the other
don't.
scripture? Turn the other cheek.
Oh,
Yeah, how about
So
The
they
that?
can
scripture
do
says
anything
that.
they can do anything they want to do to you. But you just turn the other cheek
Turn
and
the cheek. Huh.
forgive them and let them do what they want to do to you.
yeah.
No.
all
Yeah.
all corruption. Here's
Yeah.
here's another one that religion did. You know, if we look at the books that were taken out, the Apocrypha, we know that we have to, there are laws of creation that Tatanzambi requires us to follow. These
Mhm.
laws given to us as the covenant people. But then you jump over into the New Testament. Paul
That's 'cause
comes
the
back and
lies did.
says, if you just believe in your heart and
And confess
confess
your
with your
sin.
mouth
Your
that
fa-
JC is Lord, you shall be saved. So
No.
you saying
Mhm.
now we can forget about the laws of creation.
They added
Yeah.
that in
See
there.
the inconsistent, consistency, corruption all through it.
That's the New
Right.
Testament for you.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Woe be unto the ones that add and take away from the Bible. So woe be unto you people that added that added false
Yeah.
scriptures in there.
So I'm
Yes.
changing the subject. I'm changing the subject for a minute.
Mhm.
Manzambi Zola stated in the beginning of this recording about the five black men that hurt this young guy in Tennessee.
Mhm.
And I'm so thankful to the Most High that they were charged, and the chief of the police put their high in jail. I'm not only to say officers, because they're not officers of the law.
Mhm.
They were black men, darling, and they would, and what makes it so bad, they seen other officers do that to people, to majority of our people, us. And so when they see that being done, the Mandelas see that being done to us, the other officers, well, the other black men, with band two man, they see that they did the same thing that they seen the other officers do.
Mhm.
Don't make it right neither
No.
way. Don't make it right. But now they being charged, and I'm glad the chief of the police put their high posts in jail and charged them officers. And I heard something yesterday say a couple of the guys didn't do anything to the guy, but you charge as well because you let it happen. If you didn't do anything, you stood there to let it happen to that young man.
Now I'm
You
glad.
charge as well.
This is another subject.
Mhm. I actually it's one topic. I'm glad you brought it up. Mama
Yeah.
Brenda, I see your hand. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, just piggybacking on what you all were stating or discussing before you started talking about the five men.
Yes.
Talking about the particular passage that those in organized religion cling to when it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. And so I bring to the attention of those in organized religion to ponder on the passages that says that the Most High is enmity against the world. In other words, enmity is enemy. So the world is the enemy of the Most High. So
Mhm.
how does he love the world? How does he? They are not able to rationalize and reason and to see the discrepancies in there of how particular passages were placed in there for psychological programming. Not only that, there's a passage that says, do not love the things of the world.
The world. Mhm.
Mhm.
So if it's saying do not love the things of the world, it is talking about the world per se because it's in the world and he's enmity against the world. So which is it? Is the world his enemy or does he love the world? So which is it?
That's a good thought.
Yeah, good point.
It is. It's an excellent point. And you
Yeah.
know, now y'all know I used to be a pastor in the church. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I preached, you know, like some of these pastors today preach. And I told them that the Old Testament was what was there for us to learn from. Now,
Mhm.
watch this. I said that because I've heard other pastors say it.
Mhm.
The Old Testament is for us to learn from, though we're not under the Old Testament. Is basically history for us to learn from. The question that should have been asked, brought forth, which never came forth, was, what is it that we should learn then from the Old Testament? What is it? Because apparently you're ignoring everything out of the Old Testament except for the 10 Commandments. And if you're learning something from the Old Testament, why aren't you applying it? Okay.
Mhm.
So I would like to know, what is it that was learned from the Old Testament? Because when you look at the Old Testament, they walked with the Most High. They spoke with the Most High. They did things, you know, that a normal man could not do, or, you know, one that was not a God.
Mhm.
Okay. They
Yeah.
did those things. But
Yes.
why is it JC had to come and do those things before any of the disciples did those things? And it was JC who empowered them to do it.
And JC was white.
Exactly. Exactly.
Story doesn't add up.
No,
No, it doesn't add up.
no.
So just like everything else, he was the great white hope.
The great white, I like that. I like that. But he
Mhm.
was not my great white hope.
No.
No.
Sirree.
Mine neither.
Hey, you duped me once before.
But you
I
won't do it
claimed him.
again.
Yes,
Won't do it again.
I claimed him as my Lord and Savior. Yes, I
Me
did.
too.
But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did too.
I know now. And I denounced it.
Yes, so did
Yeah.
I.
Me too.
Yes.
Did you want to say something else, Mama Brenda?
Yeah, something else came to me on that, because our people need to start thinking and rationalizing and stop just going by what they are told, what they are taught, and what they hear. The Bible says also, which they neglect, study to show thyself approved, a workman need not be ashamed, but rightly dividing the word of truth. So you have to study to make sure, and also to, you know, to meditate, to send a petition, and be led of the spirit to see what you're being told is true, because they esteem in organized religion these books. You know, I'm gonna stick with Christianity that I was in. They esteem this book as if it is the word of God, and it is not the word of
Right.
God.
Right.
It contains some of the words of God, because that Bible is a compilation of stories and history about a group of people on the continent
Yeah.
of Africa,
Mhm.
and their
Yes.
experiences with the Creator that chose them, you know, as to be the light of the world. And so they took it upon themselves, the Romans. We
Mhm.
have to know history to understand what's going on here. And our people in Christianity, majority of them don't understand history. They don't study the history of Christianity in the Bible. We know that the Romans ruled Northeast Africa, which is over there in Kemet, where all of this started from. The Romans were the one that compiled what they refer to and esteem as the Bible. they determined in these different councils, it was 7 councils that they had, they determined what would be included in this, what's called the Bible. They had book, they said, no, this one's not going to be included because we don't believe whatever reason they stated. No, this one would not be. Oh, we're going to add this. As a matter of fact, Revelation was one of those books that they initially decided would not be a part of it, but they added it in there. So people need to understand this. Now back to this though, because we know that it does contain some truth in it. That's why it's important to have the Spirit of the Most High to lead you and guide you into all understanding and truth.
Yeah.
So what came to me was, and I'm thankful for the Spirit reminding me of this, when we was talking about, as scripture says, for God so loved the world. The Bible talks about that there was a creation of different worlds, right?
Mhm.
And we're
Yeah.
talking about here in our spirit. So which world did he talk about that he loved so? When you really look at the definition of what that world, because my world, when we say, oh, my world has been crazy, we're talking about me and what I am experiencing as a person and with the people in my atmosphere, right? So
Right.
when he says, for
Yes.
God so loved the world, could he have been talking about the world of the Muntu?
Mm.
Because in Hebrews and also in the book of, I know Hebrews, is it both in Hebrews? It talks about how he made the worlds. It says in Hebrews 1 and 2, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his son. Now his is in italics, which means they added that. So I'm going to take it out. They added it. I'm going to take it out. Hath in these last days spoken unto us by son,
Mhm.
whom he hath appointed heir of all things. So son has been appointed heir of all things, by whom made the worlds. And then Hebrews 11 and 3 says, through faith, we understand that the worlds. Now, when I read to you above, Hebrews 1 and 2, when it says he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds, that was plural, it has an S on it. And then Hebrews 11 and 3 says, through faith, we understand that the worlds, plural, were framed by the word of the Most High, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. So you need to take a deeper look. They need to take a deeper look at that, because their interpretation is a false interpretation. When he said, do not love the world and the things of the world. So which world is he talking about don't love? And which world is he talking about they love? Because clearly there is contradictory there. So what they're teaching, it can't be what they are teaching in the church when you have this discrepancy here. So the key is going to understanding, not from my understanding, especially not from a Western perspective, because this book is not a Western perspective. That's what messed people up and get people tripped up. This is an African book, so you have to go and understand it in this African perspective. What did they mean by world? And what world were they talking about? Well, clearly, if it's a African book, it's talking about their world.
Mhm.
When he says, but he created the world for them and gave them dominion, and he said that he's for God so loved the world. So that needs to be taken a look at carefully, because it is not being taught correctly. He did not love the world, and this was brought out previously when Manzambi said that that Yesiah said, I came only for the lost sheep of the house of Isolele. So if he himself said he came only for Isolele that was lost, why in the world would he die for the world? It doesn't make sense. Help me make sense out of this, people.
Yes. Break it
I-
down. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm gonna respond to that. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
Nkosi Kange, I saw your hand was up.
Okay, okay. Now, I was just gonna just kind of coming back on what Mama Brenda had said, or coming behind it. Yeah, we definitely have to be in operating in the spirit in the Mwanda, because there's so much that was taken out and corrupted and twisted and added that we just can't believe every word for word in that book. And I remember when I first was awakened and I was listening to a broadcast by Nabi Yanata Chilambo,
Mhm.
and he said, the Bible does not contain all the word of God. And I was like, he said, but it's some in there. And I was like, I don't know about that. But now I understand what he meant. I
Mhm.
understand.
Yeah.
You know, when we look at how the church teaches, they call Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John the four gospels. All right. And they always say, go spread the gospel of JC. Okay. So now, one thing that going back to this, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. They say that, as Mama Brenda has said, that he went out to everyone. He died for the whole world. They get that from where it's said that JC told his disciples before he was, on the cloud and ascended up, into heaven. He told his disciples to go out into all Judea, all Samaria, and to the uttermost parts of the world and share this gospel, this word. That's where they get it from. So they want to say it was just a few areas he named, but he was saying go into the whole world to anybody who's willing to hear it, receive it, accept it, and they can become children of God.
Mhm.
That's where they get that from. But if you break that little part down, you will understand that what Yesaya was saying, our people are going to be scattered. They will be.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to minister to them where they're scattered to.
Yes.
Remember, I am only sent to the lost sheep of the house of the Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that America was not around during that particular time. You have to understand again, what was their meaning of the world to them during that particular time? That was the areas that they were familiar with. That's why they named those particular places. Why? Because people were scattered there. You have to understand, during that time of Christ, you had already had our land that our ancestors, Kemet, was taken over first by, I'm talking about the Europeans, the Grecians. They came in. And then there were other people, but I'm talking about the Grecian, the Europeans now. The Grecians came in, remember, and they took over and colonized. Then the Romans came and took over the Grecians and colonized our area. This happened before Christ ever hit the scene, Messiah ever came into existence. The Romans were there. They had been there for I think about 1,000 years, if I'm not mistaken. I had to go back and look at research again. So they had been there for quite some time. So they had colonized our land and our people, in the Josephus, the wars, that he called the Jewish wars, in that book, he said that there was a great slaughter among our people, that the Romans killed many of our people. And Josephus said that they ran deeper into Africa. That's how we know they are not European people. He didn't say that they ran up into Europe and East Europe. No, they ran deeper down into Africa. So these people were killing our people, and they were running everywhere trying to survive. So when Christ came on the scene, and granted, they had changed up things by this time, remember, because we had the Council of Nicaea, we had all these 7 councils that they had, where they started using our text, the text of our forefathers, and start devising up what we know as today as the Bible, changing up things, just like the 10 Commandments came from the laws of Ma'at, truth. justice, which is the same thing in Kikongo as Ubuntu. So these are our principles. These are our concepts that they perverted, because it says in their tongue and the way they wrote it, thou shalt not kill. But when you go to Ubuntu principles and Ma'at principle, they say, I have not killed. Because these people were murderous, and I know this is off topic, but then yet it does tie in, because you're talking about the indoctrination.
Yes.
Because these people were murderous, barbarous people, they had to change it up and say, thou shalt not, because they have. So this spirit that our people have taken upon us, that the sister was talking about, what people are protesting today about this gentleman, they have taken upon the ways of these people, because they have become indoctrinated with their ways, with their concepts, with their mores, with their cultures, with their evil spirits. That's an evil spirit, to allow 5 people to attack one individual.
Yes.
That's an evil entity, an evil spirit for anybody, I don't care who it is, to do such a thing. So
Yes, it
again,
is.
back to worlds. That world, you have to understand it from their perspective. But too often what they do in Christianity is they look at it from a Roman Greco perspective, and they teach it as such, like it's their word, like it's their principles, concepts, and mores, and they have perverted it. Hence the reason why you have perversion in the church to this day.
Hey, come on.
Yes.
You opened
Yes.
another topic there.
Here we go. Yes.
So open discussion, right?
Yes,
I'm
we are.
trying.
All right now.
So Vita had mentioned something interesting here that I didn't know. She had mentioned that there were different versions of Revelation, if I understood that correctly, and that they were just making a decision on which version to use. Is that correct, Vita?
Bote.
Bote.
Sorry. So yeah, this is some knowledge I came across. Well, I won't call it knowledge, but information, right? That I came across sometime last year. But the interesting thing is how I guess maybe it's just as you're searching, right, and having questions, because prior to that, it had just come to me one of the days. It just, I guess my car spoke to me, and it just dropped in my spirit that Revelations is not true. And I was like, what?
What?
So I'm like, what do you mean it's not true? So, and it just kept, repeating in my spirit, no, it's a playbook. It's a playbook. It's not true, or at least not all true. So, that bothered me. And I was just like, where is this coming from? So anyway, I pondered upon it, prayed about it. So I started doing some research to kind of like, I couldn't really find anything. But then one day, some weeks or months later, I just came across this lady's videos. I've dropped one of the links in the chat, and lo and behold, she was talking about the truth about the book of Revelation. So I thought, oh, let me watch this. Let's see. But yeah, so basically, if you listen to her, and everybody has to make of it what they wish, but she was explaining that there were different versions that they had in terms of like different texts or stories or accounts of apocalyptic endings. And after a lot of discussion and everything, they finally ended up deciding on the one that we have today, because that one seemed to resonate kind of like a little bit better with the whole theme of the New Testament that they had come up with. So it was the preferred option. And I know I heard you, Yaya, when you're saying that, I think, was it Mama B who was saying initially they weren't going to include the book of Revelations in the final canonic text. And then, then they rescinded that and gave us what we have today. But that there are actually other versions that are available if you look for them that don't quite end the same way and don't quite go the same way. Some of them are, well, you know, they don't rhyme or gel with the rest of the New Testament that well. So you can see why they wouldn't include them. So for me, that kind of sort of, I felt a little bit vindicated. I'm not going to say I'm 100% settled on the question, but it did seem to, for me, further reinforce what had come into my spirit about the book, that this just seems like a playbook that people are, or, you know, certain actors behind closed doors are using to effect certain things. And because we've all been brainwashed and pre-programmed to expect certain things to happen, they make these things happen, and we all say, yeah, prophecy is being fulfilled, but is it prophecy is the
Exactly.
question.
Uh,
So that's that was why I just threw that in there, since, you know, it came up with regards to the book of Revelation. So it's still, you know, jury's still out for me, but increasingly I have my suspicions and doubts.
oh,
There were even
oh.
different so-called Christians during that particular time that believed differently about the Messiah. There were different beliefs about Messiah, and that's what the Council of Nicaea was about, to determine what they were going to use cohesively as one amongst them, because they was, remember, it was very political.
Mhm.
The religion comes from the Latin religare, which means to bind. So what are you binding yourself to, or who are you binding yourself to? That's the question first people need to ask in Christianity, you know, because they have given us a false God, a false image in Christianity. And I know they're not going to see it, because when, like I told somebody, when you're in deception, you don't know that you're deceived until you're out of deception. And you ask yourself, how come I didn't see that? Well, you don't know you're deceived when you're in deception. That's why you're deceived. So they're not going to see this. So they decided, the Council of Nicaea decided what the church believes today, what their Jesus is. Man made this determination.
Mhm.
This is what we're going to believe, because they had different beliefs about who he was. Remember? So they are not basing it on what the Spirit says. They're basing it on what man determined he was going to be to them. And these men are Roman. These men were the people that killed your people and sent your people into prison, into Spain. Remember, Rome. We're talking about the Romans.
Yeah.
Come on, our people out there need to, I'm not talking about you all, because a lot of you all are familiar with this and understand and can connect the dots. But our people still in Christianity have not and seem to fail to connect the dots. So those people that the Romans had in their little stadiums that they were watching, hence the stadiums today, which is filled with majority of our people in certain sports arenas, their sports arena, when they had the animals in it, they was bringing out, they were our people, Bantu.
Yes.
The first two people, martyrs of Christianity that was killed in them, I have a book. They are Bantu people from Namibia. And when you Google their names, they gonna show you white people, European people. They were Bantu.
Yeah.
These people are nothing. These people are nothing but liars, deceivers.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And you know, listening to what you were saying, Linda, you know, they talk about being, you know, you're saying that we're Bantu. Okay, said that we're Bantu, and we have our brothers and sisters who, again, refuse to connect with Africa, and they say that they're African American. You know, this is where they are. This is, you know, the land that they're indigenous to. Okay, if you are claiming that this is the land that you are indigenous to, then drop African from African American. Drop it.
Just be an all American.
Be outright American. Yes.
You know, this what you're talking about our people saying that there's somebody else and they don't want to identify as who they are. You know, Africa is called Mama Africa for a reason. So looking at that video that you're referencing, you see that what was presented in there is there were five different tribes that was referred to as the five civilized. And it was presented in that video. They were called civilized for a reason. 5 tribes, they had African slaves. They started participating in the slave trade with the Europeans, and they had slaves. Now they also had runaway slaves that came, enslaved, that came and joined with them as well. And they started marrying with these people, but they were Africans. So when they went on the Trail of Tears and the US government was taking their land, according to what was mentioned in that presentation, on the Trail of Tears, they had those people that they had enslaved, and those that ran away, the Africans that ran away and joined in with them, they were there with them. And the US government made them incorporate those Africans into one as citizens of theirs. And so you had, you know, what was this, 2009, one of them started fighting and saying that the Africans are not, they started kicking them out. They were getting letters to Africans and said that the US government had no right to tell them who to allow to be a part of their citizenship. But they came back and said that, okay, we will allow you Africans, they refer to them as Africans, in as citizens among us, the Native Americans that are indigenous to this land, because they want to throw in, oh, we're not, we don't call ourselves Native American, we call ourselves indigenous. Whatever you want to do, I'm not going to play on words. The point of the matter is they were enslaved Africans that were enslaved by the Native Americans and that joined in and ran away from the Europeans and joined in with them as one. Now, here's the kicker. I went and researched that myself. And I saw the decision was made by those 5 tribes, because once that first tribe started doing that, the other 5 started saying, yeah, they right. You all don't have a right to tell us who could be a part of us. So one of them, I think it was a Cherokee, decided, okay, yes, you all can be part of us. But here's what they had to do to make them part of them. They had to change their constitution and say, and take out citizen by blood, because the melanated people that are with them, the Africans, it is not by blood. It is not by blood. But yet they want to cling to it because they are so embarrassed, apparently, and so traumatized that they want to claim something other than who they truly are. These are some really sick-minded people that really need help.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And we got
Very
so many of,
embarrassing.
yeah, and we got
Yeah.
so many of our people running around. I'm Native American. Really?
I got some in my
Well,
family. Just
Yeah.
You know, my
Yeah.
grandmother told me that we had Native American in us. Guess what, people? Just about all, we know that just about all African Americans have heard this in their family. We have Native American in us. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so when I check my DNA, there was none in there. So
Me
now they
either.
want to say, they want to use it, say, oh, it's fake. It's fake? When they've been using this to lock people up, DNA evidence in forensic science is used. It's a science. It is not fake. It is real. That is why they can use it. They get your fingerprints. That's part of your DNA they get. In your hair is your DNA. Your fingerprints have your DNA. It is not fake. It's real science. These people are disillusioned.
Yes.
Very much so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. Whew.
I tell you. This we got to get rid of this mindset. We have to go back. Mama Brenda and some others on here had mentioned about studying and researching, and a lot of us won't do it. There are some of us who will, but even some of us who study only go to a certain point and don't go any deeper. But we truly need to study for ourselves and to know that what we've been taught in the church house, what we've been taught in other religions is not so. We have to study it for ourselves. Now, going back to what Queen Cynthia had brought out, you didn't change the subject when you were talking about the 5 police officers. And I agree with you. I am thankful, that they jumped on it, quick and, held them accountable. But still, there's a problem. And I want to point that out. First of all, these 5 officers were Black. They looked like us.
Mhm.
And they jumped on another Black young man. They
Mhm.
beat him like the white officers beat our brothers.
Mhm.
And the thing that really got next to me was when a white officer or white officers do such an act or commit an act, they're placed on suspension or leave with
Yes.
pay.
Yes. Go ahead. I was thinking
Mhm.
the same thing. Go ahead.
All right.
Uh-huh.
But look at how quickly
Mhm.
they jumped on the Black officers
Mhm.
and indicted them, threw the book at them, locked them up.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't get paid for anything. They done lost their jobs, all this.
Yeah.
That's right.
Already. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Quick.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It took
So
them like a
Yeah.
day.
yes.
Mhm.
If the
So-
shoe had been on the other foot and it was 5 white officers, they would have put them on administrative leave during it,
Yeah.
and during it, they still
Exactly.
would have got paid.
That's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
It's still
So
and be
what?
we'll still be investigating it.
point. Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
And guaranteed, had it been 5 white officers, they would have come out and said, we investigated it and we found that there was probable cause.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So maybe 2 of them would have lost their jobs. And maybe the other
Maybe.
3 would have been, they wouldn't have lost their jobs, but they would have had desk positions.
Administrative leave. Mhm.
And they would
Okay.
have justified it because they feared for their life.
Yes.
That's
Or
exactly right.
and they could have gone probably to another precinct and got a job.
That's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say about the other 2
They do.
who would have been fired. They would have went to another precinct.
Yep.
Do you think they use them 5? Y'all said 5 officers. They don't. I wouldn't give them the time of day and call them an officer. But anyway, them 5 Black guys. You think they use them as a example?
Of course
know-
they did. Of course. So what they're gonna do, put over our head now is y'all been screaming that you're being killed by a white officer. What now? Because now your
Exactly.
very own are killing
That's-
you. So
That's right.
That's right.
So
Mhm.
what's gonna happen is these people thought they were gonna get off because they were officers, the blood of the blue. And they
Uh-huh.
don't realize that the laws were never designed to protect us here in America.
That's right.
The
Say
system
that again.
was not designed for us.
No.
And they finna find out very quickly about that.
Yeah.
They already
But it-
have.
They part of the Uncle Tom Slave Patrol.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know,
Yeah.
guess what? Guess what? Just the kicker right here. When they go to jail, I don't know, they probably out by now. They go to jail, all the people they put in jail for wrongly accused, they're gonna get theirs. They're gonna get theirs while they're in there.
Mm-hmm.
If they gonna be put under what is lock and key or put in the cell by themselves. You trust and believe that somebody gonna be knocked in the head on it for doing this to this guy, this man two guy, because they wrongly did this to the 5 officers, 5 of them.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, they're gonna get theirs. Trust and
Yeah.
believe that.
Well, let's
Especially if
see
you go
what
to
the-
jail and stay there.
let's see what the verdict's gonna be.
Yeah,
Because
how about
when if they were white, who knows how many years they would have gotten a couple of years or a slap on the wrist.
Mhm.
yeah, but
Oh,
I
But what are
think,
the
probation.
5 guys, the 5 black guys, or what kind of verdict are they gonna get?
yes, we're gonna wait to see. But I think the Most High for that young chief officer, that chief of police, because it took her to make a stand on putting them officers where they're supposed to be and charge them and fire them on the job. So
Well,
I commend her highly. I don't know about nobody
the
else,
mi-
but I commend her highly.
the Memphis prosecutor has already come out and said these officers should get life in prison with no parole or the death penalty.
They
Of
beat that
course they're
man
gonna say
Seriously?
that.
mercifully.
How are they
Of
gonna
course they're
say
gonna
something
say
like that
that.
when that other officer, look what happened to George Floyd? Seriously?
Look
Okay.
at the
About
color.
Exactly.
We can go down the list.
They were white.
Now,
I
let's
know they
look
were
at it.
white.
Let's look at it
That's the
like
point I'm
this, you
trying to
all.
make.
Oh.
Now, these people, them men should have known that the laws were not designed. They in the law enforcement. They know who they lock up. They're not that ignorant. They know that the jail, the prison were created for our people from
Yes.
the chain gang. They know that it has become by the one that's in office now as a chief of staff, known as Sleepy Joe. He, along with Bill Clinton's wife, created these here policies
That's
to
right.
put our young men in jail, and they privatized it to make money off of it. The
Yes.
more they have, the
Yeah.
more
beds
they get.
filled, the more money they
Yes.
get. Not
That's
only
right.
that, slavery did not go away.
That's
The
right.
clause in the 13th
Sure
Amendment
didn't.
says, with the exception of a crime. So they
I
want
mean,
to
the 8-man
continue
corner.
to use our people, especially our young men, as slaves. So they use this as a tool to put them in prison. And then these corporations, which are the plantation, today's plantation, they use them for free, a little labor, a little low-cost labor, like 3 cents, 4 cents, to make products. McDonald's, Victoria's Secret. It's a host of them that use them for zero to little or nothing that they pay them to make their products. Slavery, modern day slavery, and they can't see this.
Yeah, I don't understand what
You
was
know
wrong.
what? If they get the book thrown at them, they deserve everything for being so
exactly
ignorant
right.
to think that just because they wear blue, that they were going to get the same treatment as the one that looked differently from them. Shame
No.
on you for
Exactly.
thinking such foolishness.
Right.
In ghetto.
That's right.
Exactly.
They should have known they weren't going to get the same treatment.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But they got food.
They got duped big time.
Yeah, Duke. Yes.
Big time.
Yes. Yes.
And let this be a lesson to the
To the
rest
other
of
one.
our people that are wearing blue.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yes, they see that the law don't care nothing about them either, just because they wearing
So,
blue. It
you're
don't
right.
care about y'all. You don't
That's
wear
right.
blue, you wear black. Remember that, you wear black.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
Exactly.
Exactly.
woo.
Yeah. But they showing them, okay, you wearing the same color, you got the same position as an officer, but you're not us.
Right.
You're not us. You can't do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, they
I've
beat that
had-
man mercifully. They beat that man.
Yeah.
Yes.
They beat that man for something.
Five people.
He just, I couldn't even listen to the story. I really couldn't, because it's hard. It's hard. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't
Yeah.
listen to it.
It was very difficult.
No need.
I knew it was. I knew it.
You know,
Just couldn't listen to it.
And that's why I said, you know, I really had to work on, you know, being angry. I had to, because when I saw that, I got angry.
I know you did.
Got angry. You know, they're acting like them, and you got
Yeah, the Mandelas.
people out protesting. Now,
They protesting? Oh yeah, they are.
Yes.
Okay.
now here's the thing. We protest and protest and
Yes, yes.
protest
Come on.
and protest.
Come on.
What
Protest.
has changed?
We
Nothing.
march, and we march. Nothing's changed.
Nothing has
Nothing
changed.
has changed. Nothing.
They
No.
gave us an illusion of freedom. People
Yes.
think they free. I tried to tell this guy I went to school with some years ago that we're not really free. I said, this is an illusion. They gave us a piece of freedom. They don't, you know, I read an article that had my mouth drop. It said that in order for African Americans to have full citizenship, my mouth dropped when I got to that part of the article. I'm like, what?
Mhm.
So what the article was saying is they put it on books, but it's not executed. They said it's going to cost them $14 trillion, I think it was, to give us full rights as citizens here in America. So we don't even have full citizenship rights here in America. Oh, they put it
It's a
on
shame.
books, but it was never implemented. That's why this was the 14th Amendment, 14, 15, and I think 16th Amendment, you all. So this was way before civil rights. So if we had equal rights as they, why did we have to go and march and fight during the civil rights for our rights, the right
Exactly.
to vote, and all these different things? If we had the same rights as citizens here in America, we shouldn't have to fight. You shouldn't have to fight for something that you supposedly have. So we do not have citizenship here. We don't have full citizenship.
We're not fully
We not-
human.
We
we
don't
not even
have
from
full
here.
rights.
We not even from
Exactly.
here. You know, we were born here, you know,
We're
against
still
our will.
3/5 human.
Yes.
We not even,
Right. That's
And
right.
that's
And
what we need to get our brothers and sisters to see and to understand. We were brought here.
that's right.
Forcefully.
That's
I
right.
was born here. I've said this before. I was born here in the United States, but this is not my home.
That's right.
No, no.
right.
Mine
Do
neither.
you all know what we really are? Y'all really want to know what we really are over here because we don't have rights. And it's the reason why we don't have full rights. What in that article it brought out. Y'all want to know what we are?
What
We're
are we,
3/5
Mama
human.
Brenda? Tell us.
We are prisoners of war. It was war on the land of Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are prisoners of war. That's why they don't want to let us go. That's why they don't want to let our ancestors' relics go, their skulls go. It was war. We are prisoners of war over here. Do you think that they're going to give their prisoners any rights like them? Come on now. Come
Yes,
on
but
now.
when-
Let's be real.
but
Let's be
when the
realistic here.
But when the Most High come through here and destroy Babylon, they're gonna give us opening doors to take us out of here. They're gonna
You
open
know,
the doors for us.
that-
Most High, they're gonna have a different attitude when the Most High would tear up Babylon.
now, you know what? When Mama
Sure
Brenda
is.
was talking, it was an image that popped into my head. And that image was a cage and people being in that cage. And the door is open and saying we can leave. And they
Yeah.
won't.
Mhm.
And say, I'm comfortable here in the cage.
Oh yeah, something gonna be like that. Mhm.
A lot of them. I can hear it now. My cousins. I was born here in America. I don't know nothing about over there. I ain't going to Africa over there where they ride around.
Yes.
I'm American.
Right.
You're not American. You don't.
That's what they-
We don't have full citizenship rights. If they're talking about it's going to cost them $14 trillion to give us full citizenship, what do you think they're talking about? What is this money that they're talking about?
Are they gonna pay that money to make you full citizenship?
No.
No,
They're
you know
talking
they're
about
not.
what they have
No.
to do. No,
Come
they're
on.
talking about what they have to do to incorporate us into their system because it's going to be a loss to them. I told you all they use us as our people in the prison as slaves and enslaved because slavery never ended for their corporation, which is the modern day plantation. So what we're going to lose if we do incorporate them fully as citizens because we can't treat them as such anymore. If we grant them full citizenship right, we're going to lose. Remember, they paid the slavers, the enslavers, for when they supposedly
right.
freed our ancestors in America and in Europe, but they never gave us anything. But yet they want to sit up here and pitch a fit when different ones talk about reparation for us. They paid them for the loss that they would receive. So that's what they're discussing, the loss that they would receive in order to make us full citizens. Because if they make you full citizens, they cannot treat you the way that they've been treating us now.
That's right. That's
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
government is already broke, so they gonna pay not 14 cents to make us full citizenships. You can believe that.
Right.
Government is
They
already
don't
broke.
have no trillions of dollars. These folks are $1 trillion in debt. They broke,
Yeah.
busted,
Yes, they
can't
sure
be
is.
trusted.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
They
what
don't
we
pay
used to
not
say
near
when we was
14
kids.
cents. So
Yeah.
is.
Broke,
And
busted,
think about
Busted
this.
and can't be trusted.
And think about this one
Hey.
too. Biden is talking about putting
Oh, it's
together a
another
team
story.
of 12 members, African-American members, and not paying them, but putting together a team to help them reconnect to Africa and to
No,
get.
not reconnect. It's talking about, they said because of the power and influence that African Americans have, that it's now time that we incorporate them in discussion about Africa. So they want to use
Yes.
us over here to
Yes.
get to our resources, because they know that we're waking up and we're going home, and we're like, wait a minute, that's our land. And y'all over there, y'all have puppets in.
Yes.
Okay, let me say this in a more diplomatic manner.
Okay.
So there's people in place that work in cohesively with a group of people that continue to control the narrative up under the guise of trade via the EU. The EU is about trade, UNESCO, United Nations. So we have certain people that work with these organizations to promote the continued control of the resources of Africa by people that don't look African. So now that they understand that the people in the diaspora are waking up and going home to Africa because they're getting tired, it's various reasons. A lot of it is they're getting tired of being mistreated over here, and it's because the land is calling them home. And they know that if we go home, we know the true story of who they are, more so than our brothers and sisters on the continent. I understand that they just not finding out about the slave trade. They really didn't know about the slave trade. They didn't discuss these things. So they got us coming over there. All of a sudden, we're talking about, wait a minute, y'all don't know that we were enslaved over here, that they stole us and enslaved us. They don't want us to connect and start telling the narrative. They tell us what really happened on the continent, that it didn't happen as the way they're telling us, that we were sold by our very own. And we tell them, we didn't come over here living it up. They enslaved us, and your ancestors, your forefathers built up America. They're like, wait a minute, hold up. But it's too late. It's already happening.
Mhm.
It's
And
happening.
so now they want to try to control the narrative. So they are coming up with different other organizations because they have to use their policies and their laws to try to dictate and to rule. So they have this organization that they have created to include 12, and why 12, ask yourself, is significant. African Americans on this board, as he stated, that will be unpaid slaves, enslaved, so that they can be the face of the African Americans, saying we're working in contingent with the United States, with the European nation, with the West, and this is what we need to do under the guise of supposedly helping to bring Africa up and bring it up from a supposedly third world country. They want to use us. I said all that just to say they want to use us.
Yes.
Keyword, use.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I said to reconnect, it was because of the footing that they're losing in Africa. So that's what I was saying, because they need to get those resources. Okay.
Yep.
So I want to share, and this is a great segment into this video that I want to share with you all. And let me know if you can hear it, okay? And I want to commend this young lady. She does excellent job. Her YouTube channel is The Memories, and she does an excellent job on reporting. So, here we go.
Because
Can
first
you
of all,
hear it?
Africa gets almost no attention.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the countries of Africa also are the ones that get hardest hit when the United States and NATO decides to have its dalliances around the world. They are the ones that suffered the most, right? But we don't hear much about it. A few months ago, the United States and the European Union put intense pressure on the African countries to fall in line and vote for giving unlimited power to the World Health Organization. You may or may not remember this story. Africa said F you and voted against giving unelected group of globalists power over their lives. Here was the scene, right? Look at this. This was the scene when they were voting on this. And basically African countries stood up and said, no, thank you. There was applause. There was a big, it got suppressed on social media, but there were a couple tweets that you could actually see people applauding. So Africa stood up for the whole world. And they said, no, we are not going to give a group of unelected World Health Organization globalists power to run our lives.
So did Brazil, to be fair.
True. Yes, Brazil did as well. And what this would have done would have been awful, right? So the United States and all of these European countries would have handed over power to the World Health Organization so that in the event of another pandemic, which would never happen, right? Then they would consolidate power under one currency. They would tell us all what to do, mandating lockdowns, all sorts of things, right? They would have unified power to dictate, and all of the countries then would
And
listen
track you
and track
and
you.
track your movement and mandate vaccines.
So let's give it up for Africa for stopping this, at least temporarily. And they told the World Health Organization to go screw themselves.
Well, now the US doesn't like all this sovereignty and making its own decisions that Africa is up to. So the United States now has decided to put some pressure on Africa to basically sanction itself against buying any goods or anything else from Russia other than grain and fertilizer. Grain and fertilizer, okay, fine.
Here's the New York Times headline.
Yes, so now the New York Times is reporting that US Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield, is warning African countries not to purchase anything from Russia besides grain and fertilizer, or else what? Or else what? You know what? Sanctions.
Because we love our sanctions.
Our favorite things, right? So you sanction them, or we're going to sanction you, right? Now, you may recall that just a few weeks ago, we reported that African nations, they had a conference lately, they published a paper, and they said, we need to tap into our own resources of fossil fuel for energy because we are too dependent on foreign imports and therefore too vulnerable to outside influences. This is prime example of that kind of thing, right? So the rest of the world said, no, Africa, you're going the wrong way. Don't use fossil fuels. You'll screw up the environment. Like, it's fine for us to have done that, but you don't start, right? Don't go and use your own oil unless we want it, then give it to us, right? But no, we cannot have African nations making sovereign decisions. We need to reserve the right to tell you what to do.
So here's what US Ambassador Thomas Linda Greenfield said when, and we'll kind of go through what she was planning here with this New York Times, in this New York Times piece. It lays it out pretty well. She says during a visit to Uganda that countries could buy Russian agricultural products, including fertilizer and wheat. But she added that if a country decides to engage with Russia where there are sanctions, then they are breaking those sanctions. She says, we caution countries not to break those sanctions because then they stand the chance of having actions taken against them. I mean, the audacity.
That's a not so veiled threat.
Like, you bullies, right?
And I saw these people out.
Okay. Man, I let me I couldn't believe that, you know, but then
The unmitigated gall.
yes. So I take my hat off to this young lady. I believe that she pronounces her name Da Maria. Okay, and if I mispronounced it, forgive me. But she does an excellent job, on her YouTube channel in reporting news, when it comes to Africa and other countries such as the US and what they're trying to do. So thank you for this video. When I heard that, I said, man, they are really showing how big of a bully they are. How can a country sanction another country, telling them do not work with another country, and if you do, more harm, or we're going to do something else to you. But we depend on you because you have the resources that we need.
The balls that we got. Seriously.
What was that?
Who, me?
Yes.
Said the balls they have. I mean, come on now. How are you gonna bully somebody and then try to you need them, but you're gonna bully them and then control them?
Yes.
What kind of what?
But you know what's really
American
interesting,
way.
and it's really interesting about it is they did the same thing to Zimbabwe. They said they were going to sanction them because Zimbabwe was not agreeing with what the U.S. wanted, and they were sanctioning them, and they were going to put all this stress on the U.S. dollar in Zimbabwe. So Zimbabwe said, fine. They went strictly to the gold standard. They got all the gold. They made their own gold coins. They said, we don't need the American dollar. We're using gold.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
at that time when they did that too, they told their other European nations not to trade with Zimbabwe, and it hurt their economy. And so they also did the same thing with Haiti, and that's why Haiti's in the state that it is in. When they took over Haiti from the French, they sanctioned them. So it's a form of tool that is used to try to control. You know what really gets me is we're dealing with a group of people that want to parade around and point the finger when somebody else is doing something wrong according to they. Yes. But when you show the mirror, put the mirror up into their face, they can't stand it because they see the ugliness, the hideousness, the evil that they do around the globe.
Yeah.
And so they don't want them to trade with Russia because they know what Russia did in Africa. Some of us over here may not know, but Russia helped some of those African countries, and they didn't ask for nothing in return. Down in South Africa, they helped them. So they're upset, I'm quite sure, because now China and Russia is getting ready to do a military on the Indian Ocean over there by South Africa. And they're mad at that because, oh, y'all playing with our enemy. Guess what? The enemy of the US enemy should be a friend of ours right now. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Yeah.
I agree. But
I
say
do
what
too.
you say. Yes.
I do too.
The enemy
Totally
of you-
agree.
Yes, 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 yes.
So
Put that on
now
the
I read where Russia actually helped fight against apartheid in South Africa.
Yes.
They gave them the equipment to help fight, and a group of people that had stolen somebody's identity, they came in and they sanctioned them over there in South Africa. The people that's parading around as somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
they did not want them to be free, because when you understand who's running it, you will understand why those group of people were fighting against it, because those people have their hand in running South Africa over there. So yes, they did. They provided them with arms to help free themselves, like they're doing in, I think in Mali. I think they're helping them in Mali right now as
Mali.
well. So they're helping them to become free from the foothold of the other Western nations. And the Western nations don't like this because they need Africa. Africa don't need the West. The West came over there because they heard about the riches of Africa. And they took over the trade in Africa, which they have to this day, and without which they will be nothing. They will be broke. You're hearing of the people in Europe now. They have went back to using wood for their heat. When you research the resources that the European countries have, aside from Russia and Siberia, they don't have anything but like maybe wood and I think titanium. That's all they have. But when you look at Africa, they have everything that the world needs, but yet they want to say Africa is poor. No, you steal the resources from the people of whom the resources it belongs to, and you keep them in an impoverished state, and you keep their countries destabilized.
Yes.
Corrupt government so that you can continue to siphon the resources to create your phones, to create your TVs, to create your computers, to create your diamond rings, to create your satellites, to create your planes, to create your bombs, to create your cocoa, and so on and so on and so on and so on.
Yes.
And
I
I saw those Russian ships. There are 5 in Cape Town sitting right there, 5 of them. And they were
off the
warships.
coast.
Yes,
Wow.
Yes, next
right on the coast. It's on the coast because you stand on the land and you can look out there and see 5.
Yeah,
Wow.
they are getting ready for a military, they said, they call it a military
Exercise.
Exercise.
Uh-huh.
It's exercise, all right.
Yeah, so exercise for what?
Exactly.
They named it very well. They hide that it's a preparation is what it is.
Exactly.
Yes, ready at the drop of a hat.
Yes. Yes.
I can't imagine though, being on the land. You say that I'm poor, but I can go outside and I know I'm sitting on diamonds,
Yeah.
coltan, gold,
Yeah, absolutely.
oil,
Yes.
and I'm poor.
Yeah,
Right.
because when they find this stuff, they have to relinquish it to the government, and the government give it to the powers that be, you all. You see?
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the thing that I am asking Africa. Please stop. Take your land back.
There has to be a change in leadership.
I've said this before, I say it again, and so many of us have said it before. Africa does not need the other countries. The other
No, they don't.
countries need
Not
Africa.
food, nothing.
That's right.
Okay, so
Other countries need Africa. You're right.
yes, so Africa, you have everything
Everything.
that the other countries need.
And won't.
Look at it, you got the upper hand.
Yes. So you
how can another country who call themselves a superpower and tell you what to do with the resources you have in your home? They're coming to your home, telling you how to run your home. Give us what you have in your home. Don't you use it, but give it to us and let us be wealthy off of what you have. And we're going to keep you in the level where you are. We'll pay off those who are in positions who allow us to come in and take it. We shut them off. And if they don't want to, work with us, then, we'll do what's necessary.
Yeah, we know what that is.
Yeah.
You got the upper hand, my brothers and sisters.
Yes.
continent of Africa. Rise up, just like you told them that they would not, that you would not allow them to let the WHO, the World Health Organization, come in and run things. Stand up and tell them, you're not coming in, taking our wealth. No more.
Did you
But
hear what he said? That Africa saved the world? Because if they would have voted for it, of
Yes.
course, other European nations were for it. So they need to realize just from that how much power they have.
Yes.
Mhm.
We don't realize
Mhm.
the power that we have. It's more of us than it is of them. So
Yes.
it's time that we wake up and we come together.
And
And
that's,
see, this is another,
go ahead.
Yaya. This is another reason why they don't want us coming back to the continent, getting with our brothers and sisters.
That's right, because they
We're
know
gonna
we're not
tell
gonna
them.
go. We're not gonna
We're
stand
gonna
for it.
tell them. Right,
Mhm.
we're gonna tell them we don't need them.
Yes.
Get them on up out of here.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's their tactic. Divide and conquer.
And conquer.
Look at what they've done. We cannot get along with our own selves. I shared this with NT Ngong. I told her, I said, I remember when I was younger, and I would speak to the brothers that I see when I go into the store or down the street, whatever. I look at him and say, what's up, my brother? You know, how you doing, my brother? And one person I greeted that way, and he looked at me and said, I ain't your brother. And I mean, that messed me up. It messed
Wow.
me up. I'm talking to someone who looked like me, who act like me. And I addressed him in a loving manner. What's up, my brother? How you doing, my brother? I ain't your brother. I don't know
Wow.
you. We didn't grow up in the same house together. Don't be calling me your brother. I ain't your brother.
That was ugly.
Yes.
You see how they have conditioned our mind? Because when one of these people that have stolen somebody else's identity, they see each other as one. They treat each other as one. And you see how much they have accomplished by seeing each other as one. When you say something against one of them, they all coming at you. They don't care
come
what
together.
household they were in. They all coming at you.
Yes.
But they have conditioned us because that is not our spirit. That is not our principles. I told you all earlier about the Ubuntu spirit, the Ma'at spirit. That is not even something how our people acted. So we're not even acting like ourselves. Who are we?
Exactly. So this is why you see me dress the way I dress. This is why you see Nkosi Kangi dress the way he dressed, because we're reconnecting with our brothers and sisters on the continent, and not just us men, but our sisters as well that you see on this community.
Yeah.
We are connecting with our brothers and sisters on the continent because we know who we are. We're not strangers to the continent. We're family. It was the Mundelis, the Europeans, that caused separation. And they're still doing it to this very day.
What we're doing is we're reconnecting back to our culture. This is our culture. And see, that's another thing that people in Christianity need to understand, that religion is tied very heavily into culture. That's why you have our people worshiping, celebrating holidays that's not even theirs. It's their European cultures. Granted, yes, a lot of it came from our culture and they corrupted it. But you see them incorporating that. We speak their language, right?
Yes.
We celebrate their holidays, right? We dress as they dress, right? And we're acting as they're acting, right? So we have become them.
Them.
We are not who we were created to be. Is that a lie? Isn't that not a lie?
Mm.
Yeah.
That's living a lie. If you're not living who you were created to be,
Yeah, living a lie.
yes.
Yeah.
Lie.
So I will end it on this note. Our queen, our NT, Ngong II, she has been very vocal about uniting us and bringing us together. And our brothers and sisters are fighting against her. Some have even said she's not even African. Some
Wow.
have told her, go talk to your people over in Africa. Some just outright speak very negative towards her. But they don't understand this is her mission. She is a real queen, a real NT, and she deserves better respect than that. I stand with her, and we have joined forces. And I say that we do need to unite. We need to open our eyes and look at what these Europeans have done to us. We have taken on their ways. I call it Mundeliitis. It's a disease. And we can be ridden of that disease. But we must first accept who we truly are. We are Africans. I don't care how you look at it. I don't care how you say. I don't care if you say you're indigenous to this land. Those who came here, they came from Africa, whether it been by force or voluntarily. Life originated in Africa. And the first human being, even the human beings that existed for over 100,000 years, and that's just a number I throw out, they were Africans. The European is a young nation. The last that we looked up, or my wife looked up, they're only 10,000 years old.
No, not the United States.
No, I said the Europeans.
Oh,
The Europeans.
okay.
10,000 years old.
6 to 10,000. Some said 6,000,
6 to
some
10.
said 10,000. Depends on the literature that you look at.
So look at how young they are compared to us.
Wow.
And that include all others because melanated is the dominant, That's the dominant gene.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So let us understand, Africa is our homeland. And stop taking on the ways of the Mundeli. Drop it. They have caused our division. Let us come together as one and work together as one. And let us support our NT Ngong II. She has your best interest at heart. So
Yeah.
Matondo, everyone, Matondo community, you know I love you all. And I thank you all so much, for your input and those who put into the chat here. I truly thank you and love you greatly. And I love all of you on Facebook, YouTube, those who have supported us, truly appreciate you. And ask that you would join us on Patreon as well. We've been putting information, we're kind of slow at it. So, just give us some time. But we're going to be putting some information on Patreon that's going to be very informative to you. So with that said, we love you and we thank you. Thank you, Mama Brenda. I know you all miss seeing her, but you heard her very well. And we love you and we thank you. So be increased, be increased. Base, base, base.
I see.
Pass.